Welcome to another good e-reader comparison video. My name is Marcus.
And this is Peter.
And today we're going to review the Apple iPad versus the Barnes & Noble Nook Tablet. Now, we're basically comparing this because inevitably, whenever a new tablet comes out, especially by a big company, it's always compared to the Apple iPad. So we're going to give you some visual comparisons on how these differ and what you can expect price-wise and feature-wise. So let's just go over some of the specs first, just to give you an indication on how everything stands. The Nook Tablet has a 7-inch display screen, 1024 by 600 pixel resolution, while the Apple iPad has a 1024 by 768, and it's a 9.7 inch screen. So significant size of a screen, and they run different operating systems. The Nook Tablet is Android 2.3, while the iOS 5.0.1. You have a 1 gigahertz processor or a dual-core processor in Apple iPad 2 versus the dual-core 1 gigahertz processor in the Nook Tablet. So processors are relatively about the same. Memory on the Apple iPads, 256 megabytes of DDR2, while the Nook Tablet has 1 gig. Internal storage on the Nook Tablet is 16 gigs, and you can further increase this up to 32 gigs, while the Apple iPad comes in 16, 32, and 64 gig variants with no expandable memory. So they both have Wi-Fi, but the Apple iPad actually has a 3G option. But when you increase the memory and when you jump to 3G, it really influences the cost, and the cost is the primary factor in this comparison. Apple iPad baseline model is about $499, and the Nook Tablet is about $249, $259. So bang for your buck, just right out of the gates. What would you say is the advantage here?
I'd say just the specs alone on a much more compact device, I'd have to go with the Nook Tablet, only because it's got almost 4 times the amount of RAM, and it's a much smaller device, so it's more compact, and it doesn't take as much battery life, doesn't take as much to operate. You do lose a lot of screen real estate, as you can see, but it's more compact, it's more portable, and as Marcus did say, once you do creep into 3G territory, oh man, the price can double, if not 3 times easy.
And not only that, but the monthly charges for 3G. 3G is not free, obviously, so you do have to pay that initial $100+ investment, plus, like $10, $20 a month, depending on how much bandwidth that you want. So I would say pretty well right out of the gates. Hardware and portability factor, I would probably have to give it to the Nook Tablet in terms of, just like the hardware alone. Now, if you're thinking about getting either of these devices, you got to think about what you're really looking to get out of it. The Nook Tablet really shines as an e-reading device first and foremost. It does have some multimedia support via Netflix and Hulu Plus, which are 2 apps built right into it, whereas the Apple iPad does have Netflix and other things like that as well. But I would say the Apple iPad, both 1 and 2, are multimedia devices. So the Apple iPads are not really indicative to reading because of, the bright LCD and the huge screen and the lack of the portability factor. It's really hard to sort of put this in your back pocket, whereas the Nook Tablet fits in my back pocket, literally. Easier to carry around in your purse, messenger bag, backpack, and so on. I would say that the Nook Tablet also has more memory because you can expand it via the micro SD.
Far more memory indeed, whereas this comes with a preset memory of 16, 32, 64. This has 16 regardless, plus you can put as many 32 gig cards as you want in there.
Yeah. If you look at even the weight, the iPad's about 1.5 pounds, while the weight of the Nook Tablet is only 15.8 ounces, so significantly lighter. So form factor and portability, go with the Nook Tablet. When it comes to ecosystems between these two devices, there really isn't any comparison. The Apple iPad has roughly 100,000 dedicated Apple iPad apps, while the Nook tablet has maybe about 1,000, probably a little bit less. So if apps, games, and things like that are your thing, definitely go with the Apple iPad. The big thing is reading experience, and Barnes and Noble actually doesn't have an iPad app right now, so we'll just show you how the ebook experience differs just using the iBooks application, and that is a free download from the Apple App Store. And I'm just trying to locate it. All right, here we go. Guess it's just taking a moment to load up. So this is the book experience. You can see that the Apple iPad screen is a little bit more vibrant, but once we turned up the screen brightness on the Nook tablet, it's roughly about the same. It's basically more text can be filled, and they both actually read in a landscape mode as well. So here you go. So most, like, this is iBooks, so you kind of got like you got the bind and like the peeking features and stuff like that. You don't really have that with the Barnes and Noble reader, but I would say from an e-reading point of view, I would say more text can be displayed, and you have a little bit more options in terms of being able to use the Kobo reader, Amazon reader, and a ton of others that have made iOS-based devices. So as far as the variety of ecosystems, I think the Apple iPad wins because you could really decide who you want to do business with, and both devices accept side-loaded books. So one of the advantages that the Nook tablet has is the compatibility with Adobe Digital Edition. So you can shop at any store that sells EPUB books, Kobo, Smash, Words, and other sites like that, and then use Adobe Digital Editions to import those books in. Whereas the Apple iPad, it's pretty reliant on iTunes, and as much as I like the Apple iPad, I disdain tremendously Apple iTunes.
Yeah, definitely. I think the reading experience overall is a little bit better on the iPad, but the trade-off is that it's a gigantic, heavy, battery-draining device, whereas this is lasts much longer. It's nice and light. You can display as much text if you turn it landscape, although this does make it look more like a book. So they both have their pros and cons.
Yeah, from landscape to portrait mode, I would say that they're pretty well. The Apple iPad's a little bit more seamless, and the Apple iPad will switch from landscape to portrait mode on the main screen as well as within most apps, whereas with the Nook tablet, you can only really switch from landscape to portrait mode within specific apps, like the e-reading app. It doesn't do it on the home screen. It doesn't do it on, like, say, Netflix. You can only do it in landscape mode. And so overall, it depends like on your budget. The Apple iPad costs double of what the Nook tablet costs in order to get the same sort of internal memory and everything like that you want. It's much more. The Nook tablet's much more portable form factor. It's lighter. It's easier to carry around, and it has a lot of multimedia functions with Netflix and Hulu Plus, and there's a lot of other streaming type services that you can get. Peter, how do you feel about both of these devices going head to head?
Yeah, I don't know where to begin. I mean, it's a much smaller e-reader reading based device, whereas this is a fully fledged multimedia tablet with hundreds and thousands of applications suited towards it. They're not really, I guess it'd be really hard to say which one's a winner. They're just so different in so many ways that it does boil down to what you want. If you want a small reading device, you don't want it to lose so much battery, you want to, keep some money in your wallet while doing so, you don't want to have to worry about a 3G monthly bill, Barnes & Noble Nook tablet will get you where you need to go. As Marcus said, if you want to use the Kobo app, you want to use the Amazon Kindle app, you want to sideload and put things on Aldeco, The Barnes and no the Apple iPad lets you do so much more just in general. So I wouldn't say anyone's a winner, but they're just very different.
In closing, I would say that the Barnes& Noble Nook Tablet allows you to purchase content right on the device, where Apple's instituted new rules where you can't actually buy content through the apps anymore. So if you have the Amazon app, the Kobo app, you can't actually buy books anymore via those apps. You actually have to load up the Safari web browser, purchase books online. It's a bunch of hoops to jump for. So I would say if you want a device that's easy to use and you can purchase magazines, newspapers, kids' books, and everything else, I would probably say for a dedicated reading device, go with the Nook Tablet. I would say it's superior and it's easier to use, whereas the Apple iPad can do a lot more than just reading. So that's our comparison. We'll leave it to you to make the ultimate decision on what device is better for you. You can check out our YouTube channel for further comparison videos as well as reviews on both of these devices and comparisons with a wide array of other e-readers. I think we have over about 350 videos now on our YouTube channel, so check that out at youtube.com/user/good e-reader. And of course, if you live outside the US and you want to get your hands on a Nook Tablet, you only have to go to www.shopereaders.com. And if you live in Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Europe, Pacific, anywhere else, you can purchase this and get shipped to you really within 10 days. So for goodereader.com, my name is Marcus.
This is Peter.
And everybody take care.